to have that on the table.
Good afternoon, fellow patriots. My name is Dr. Dan Eichenbaum. Last year, in the tradition of our founding fathers, I stood up for election to Congress from North Carolina's 11th District. Our founding fathers expected people like you and I, regular people, to go to Washington, do the work, the limited work of the federal government, and then return home to live by the same laws, rules, and regulations that they had just enacted. How far have we strayed from that basic principle of unselfish service to our nation and to our fellow citizens? Today, our nation is ruled, and you notice I say ruled, not governed, by an interchangeable gang of thieves and liars. A gang of interchangeable thieves and liars who sacrifice principle for political expediency and run for office for personal gain. The federal government has expanded its authority well beyond the enumerated powers in Article 1, Section 8. Our federal government routinely disregards the Constitution, sacrifices individual liberties, and ignores you and I, the citizens, when we demonstrate, as we have today, peacefully for a redress of grievances. The sad fact is, no matter how much you write, call, email, fax, or send carrier pigeons to Washington, your voice will fall on deaf ears. Your demands do not have enough force to trump the hundreds of thousands of lobbyists and PAC dollars that determine exactly how your congressman will vote on every single issue. The Independence Caucus has spent several years following that money trail that delivers funds equally to Democrats and Republicans and demands political payback from both. The power elite have so corrupted the political process that in reality, there is only one political party in Washington, just one, and that's the incumbent party. They are reelected 94% of the time. Even though their approval rating is in the toilet, our citizens still send them back year after year. Our Constitution guarantees us liberty through a series of checks and balances. What is freedom? Freedom is the absence of coercion, and it's based on the natural law right to own property that cannot be arbitrarily confiscated by the government. As a free person, you have the right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of personal happiness, as long as you do not infringe on those same rights that belong to others. That's America's version of the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Unfortunately, while we were asleep, the most important gift that our founding fathers gave us, our individual freedom, has become the victim of our inattention and apathy. I'm very worried about the future of our nation. I'm worried that our children, your children and my children, won't have the opportunities that we had to prosper and live as free people. I'm afraid that someday, maybe 20 years from now, a man just like me will stand in front of a crowd just like you. He will stand there, and with a tear in his eye, he will say, "And there arose in America a generation that knew not freedom." Is that slow descent from freedom to tyranny acceptable to any of you?
No!
I said, is it acceptable to any of you?
No!
Then we must unite and take back what has been stolen from us. We must use the 10th Amendment, to demand that our state governments refuse to submit to laws, rules, and regulations, powers that the federal government has usurped. The 10th Amendment clearly states that all powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states, respectively, and to the people. Are we not those very same people to whom those powers were given by the Constitution? It's we the people, not the collective we. It stands for individual free citizens of a great nation. The general welfare does not mean that the federal government has the right to steal from one group of people in order to buy the votes of another. And it certainly does not mean that zero liability recipient voters have the right to demand financial support from achievers who have skin in the game. The front lines of our battle for the Constitution now lie in our states. We must demand each state refuse to accept laws that are unconstitutional. We must demand that our states nullify laws and regulations that destroy the free market and that steal from us the constitutional guarantees of personal liberty. That, my fellow patriots, is what I demand of you. We're here today, and I'm preaching to the choir. You know that, and I know that. We are all here today because we all believe what I'm saying. But if our nation is to survive, each and every one of you must become a missionary for the Constitution and for liberty. Tell the history of our nation to your family and to your neighbors. Ask people when you meet them in the street, have you heard about the Constitution and the guarantees of personal liberty that it gives to you? But most importantly, teach your children and your grandchildren about the greatness of America, the greatness of our nation. Talk to them about the Constitution and the men and women who sacrificed over the years so that we all can live in freedom. Hold them in your arms. Raise your Constitution and say, this is my Constitution. This is my Constitution that Thomas Jefferson gave me so that our great nation could live in freedom. This is the Constitution that George Washington gave me when I spent the winter with him in Valley Forge and we crossed the icy Delaware River and we defeated Cornwallis in Yorktown. This is the Constitution he gave me for my service. And if anyone ever questions your resolve, hold your weapon high in the air and tell them, this is my insurance policy. This is my insurance policy, and I did not have to buy it from Geico. Amen. The right to carry and use this was given to me by my forefathers when they founded this great nation and when they gave me this Constitution. The price of our failure, my fellow patriots, will be paid for in the slavery of future generations. Thank you.